Hello, hey Sinicello. Happy first. Okay, so we left off doing game dev in the morning, and I want to do game dev now, or sorry, game design. I want to do game design now too. Let's also write in the journal before I forget. Come on. Come on. There we go. Okay. So did game design all day. Wanted to come up with answers to hard questions and design some more sub games. All right. So we were talking about a card game beforehand, and I didn't really do a whole lot with it. Came up with something that was okay. I think I do want to come up with a simple game, like something that feels like a mini game. And I wonder what would be best. Honestly, a clicker game wouldn't probably be too bad, except for this is a game you play with a controller mostly. So I'd have to think about how that works. Hmm. Hmm. I think there's so many ways to do this. I think about being a TV writer every once in a while and how a lot of sitcoms end up just kind of repeating the plots of movies, and not in a way where it's coincidental. It's like they make a direct reference to the movie, and yeah, sitcoms are supposed to be pretty funny, so they can do it in a different or unique way. But I think it's really just born out of like the writers in the writer room saying, "Hey, that worked well. I'd like to do a parody of that." And not necessarily how do we come up with something from scratch, because it's always harder to do that. Hey, Steven, good afternoon. So I want to be careful about the parody and satire versus kind of copying. So, like, if I make a Pokemon style game in here, it's not because I think Pokemon is popular and I want to do that. It's because I think there's something I have to say about it. Or in the case of the creature collection stuff I was talking about earlier, because I already have the graphics that I commissioned a long time ago. Hmm. I wonder if we can come up with a game that just uses this asset pack and nothing else. Like, there are a bunch of traps. There are some vases and crates, some doors you can open. Honestly, this is a really good asset pack. I feel like, yeah, $6. 40% off for the next several months. And what? It comes with a whole pack. Buy all for $26 or $6 per pack. So you save $4. UI HUD expansion. Honestly, this looks pretty good. Yeah, I gotta say. Yeah, it looks pretty nice. It'd be cool to make a game with this. And I think the Endless Runner style could work. Yeah, there's a game a while ago called Redungeon. I don't necessarily have an idea that I want to do based on it, but I really, really liked this game. I thought it was very cool. The way it worked was it was an endless runner vertically, and where's the picture? Yeah. And each section, so if you split it up into chunks, each chunk had its own sort of like puzzle, but it was kind of like quick reaction time. So, for example, this one, it's got three cannons shooting downward. So you had to avoid the bullets and then make it to these little boost pads here that would make you get to the next section. So you had to dodge that and then get to this and make sure you don't jump off the edge or something. And yeah, then you get to the next chunk. And that chunk might be something like there's an enemy chasing you. Yeah, there's quite a lot here. What else do they have here? I probably don't need this whole pack, although it might be nice to have other graphics here. Yeah, there's some really cool looking stuff. And I want it to be different from the games we had already. I just really like this asset pack. Yeah. Endless runner, are we learning procedural generation? I don't know what we're going to do yet exactly with this. But I think this is one of those cases where I'd like to come up with a game based on this asset pack. Because, yeah, I think it looks really cool. But the only things that you really see here, also, that's a cool effect too. The only things that you see here are some like basic walking and attacking, some slimes that move back and forth, some traps, some coins. And it'd be easy enough to draw in some other like gems or whatever. But yeah, in general, there's not too much here. So I'd be coming up with a relatively simple game. And I think something speed oriented here would be pretty cool. And then, yeah, that we could make this into our main character. Yeah, really like this idea. I just don't know what the idea is other than use the graphics. Oh, hey, they have this preview window. That must be an A-Sprite thing. I was going to say Asperite. A-Sprite. Also, these look really cool too. We don't have any like magic usage graphics. So there's a staff here, but like why? Because I don't see any staff graphics, right? Comfort update? Wait, what? There's more in here than what it looks like? Breakable objects, main character update. Monsters expansion. Oh, this is pretty good. This was in the other pack that I saw though, right? Monster expansion? Yeah. Hey, Sarah. Fire dungeon, night, big liquid, waterfalls, puddles. Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff here. Okay, let's think about this for a little bit. Another sub game. I'd love to use this asset pack for something. There's a character, some traps, some collectibles, coins and items, and some monsters. There's not so much that I think this could be an in-depth game. Hey, Prag. And hey, Freak Technic. Feels like it's been months. Yeah, welcome back. Design New World. So, yeah, we're working on a new sub game for Stuck in a Broken Tutorial. And I really like this asset pack. And I'd like to come up with something for this. I think there are a couple of routes we can go. There are attacking animations here. And there are some items. What's this? Yeah, there are some items here, but they don't show them using all the items. And the only animations we have for movement would be what? Just walking and running? Yeah, idle, walk, run. Stand by, 2 attacks. Yeah. Yeah, so the items that you can get don't really make sense in the context of this game. Like, yeah, they have an inventory graphic and everything, but... And there's a bomb, apparently? What's this? All items now also have been exported as separate images? They have a decent amount of items. I don't really understand what for. I guess they're supposed to be for your inventory or something, but... Yeah, why if they don't have any usable pictures for them? Hey, Reformulate. Happy Friday. Yeah, so anyway, a couple different routes we can go with this. What I'm thinking is some kind of speed-based game, a tactics-based game. I feel like movement has to matter. due to how few animations we have for the character. And attacking can matter. Movement mattering. Hmm. Would it be fun to have a game where you're supposed to just run through all these locations, like collect as many coins as possible? Maybe coins are your life and it's just constantly draining, so you feel like there's a rush to keep going. We need some way of controlling the difficulty of this, though. But yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff here. We could make it just like one large race course almost. In fact, maybe that's how this works. There's an asset pack that they have here where they have multiple characters, right? This one, yeah. Like it could be, do they have running animations for everybody? They have running. They have walking. Do we even need walking? Do they mention this? All 8 frames and there are 4 directions. Ah, here we go. Idle, standby, move. They don't have differences in walking or running. Because yeah, what I was thinking is it could be kind of interesting if we did. It could be a racing game in a dungeon. They have colorful knights in this asset pack that I could use as the enemy racers. I think it'd be a little bit tough to figure out how exactly that should work. Maybe they're not even enemy racers. Although I think it would be kind of cool to have it be a proper race. Although, how should that work? Either it'd be a randomized dungeon. It could be a randomized race course, a dungeon, or it could be a set course. The enemy racers could just have like predetermined behaviors each time if it's a set course. Some medieval sub game will be in it. Yeah, probably kind of all sorts of games. So this one, what I'm thinking of doing is turning it into, like I said, a racing game. So your character runs throughout, and then maybe they get some power-ups here and there that can help them out. Where are the power-up graphics? Yeah, like this. So yeah, maybe they get a boot and it makes them move faster, or they get a bow and arrows rain down and kill all the enemies in the room. There could be items or power-ups like in Mario Kart. You get a boot and you move faster for some time, or you get a bow and it rains down arrows on the enemies. Is there a jump animation? No, there's falling. I don't think we need jumping. I think jumping would be kind of neat. But we need a lot of like movement controlling things. Maybe you could get like a little teleport thing. Yeah. Maybe a staff would let you teleport beyond an obstacle. You know, this is one of those kinds of things where I feel like we should just mess around with it for a bit. Like I buy this asset pack and then we go plug it into Godot and I just see what makes sense. Like what works, what feels good. And we somehow turn this into a racing game based on that. So another thing that we could do, as long as I'm just thinking of ideas, we could make some rooms into small puzzles. You have to break a crate to get a key to unlock the door in that room. Or the doors lock and 4 monsters spawn that you have to defeat. I guess if there are other racers in here too, then they'd also have to defeat the enemies. You're designing the asset pack? Yeah, pretty much. And welcome in, Slater. So the game that I'm making is called Stuck in a Broken Tutorial. And I call it a collection of sub games. So you start and you're inside of, why is this not maximizing? You start and you're inside of a platformer game. There we go. So, typical platformer, you got double jump, you can dash, you can jump and dash again. And you eventually get to this section over here. Let me get over there. Where you get to the broken section. So it says try to collect the diamonds in one go. But you can't. The game doesn't expect you to be able to. And as a player, you're like, whoa, what's going on right now? And you fall through the world. And now you're in a very spooky looking cave. And you make your way over to a character who banishes you from this realm. You can kind of skip through this pretty fast. So I'll have this play out at 4 times speed. Character walks over here, you shouldn't be here, get out, they teleport you. And now you're in a farming game. Your character's confused. You're like, what's going on? You're eventually going to leave this game and get into probably like a top-down shooter. And then I was thinking you leave that game and go into what could be a like dungeon racing game. And that's why we're designing the asset pack, because we're going to be making so many of these sub games that I'm not going to come up with some like, okay, we're going to need 14 different sprites out of this that we don't have. And, these abilities and whatever else. It's just like, let's just come up with a game that meets this. Because I like the artwork on this. I think this would be pretty fitting in the game. Oh, which, by the way, I need to look at their license and make sure you can modify this. Content can be edited and used in all types of games, commercial and non-commercial. Cannot be resold. Sounds good. Okay. Yeah, easy. What's a narrative arc? Meta commentary on subgenres of gaming. The narrative arc is actually, I think, kind of nice and a little bit hard to explain. So there's this concept of a character who made all of these games called the Architect, and they made bad games at the end of the day. And the characters in these games eventually become mindless zombies when they don't enjoy the games, and really just NPCs. So the overall arc is figuring out that like, hey, these games actually are fun, but just not for the characters that they were designed for. So like this dungeon racing game might have a character in it who is just like, they're just like, I don't know, I fought a slime today, and that's all they say. It's like NPC talk. And then you put them into another game and now they come to life and they're like, oh my God, a farming game. This is actually where I wanted to be. So yeah, the narrative arc is about kind of identity and enjoyment and sort of still taking pride in your work and finding out what you're strong at, that sort of thing. And then, yes, there are going to be some tropes that poke fun at the genres of games as well. And some of the games are just going to be fun with no real commentary. And some of them will be broken in ways that are fun or funny. So yeah, there's going to be a mixture of focal points here. Note, having to defeat these may not make sense if you're in a race against other knights. Randomized race course. You may not know the best path to the finish line. So you may want to try different rooms. Maybe there are a bunch of hidden powerful items that you can get. Actually, it'd be cool to get a couple of different special abilities that you can just use whenever. Like imagine the boots let you run faster and you could use like 5 seconds of boosting every 20 seconds or something. Or the bow and arrow would make it rain down arrows on enemies and you could use that once every 4 rooms. And maybe part of this is just swapping between all of these items that you find at the right times. We could even add like a Stardew Valley hotbar of these items. I mean, it's not really Stardew Valley, it's just a hotbar. This exists in many different games. I kind of like that idea too. Let's write that down. Yeah, maybe each item is permanent and has a cooldown. So if you lose the race, then you can restart with the item still in your inventory. Yeah. Had to register the vehicle and go through the clerical aspects of owning a vehicle before the race. See, this is the kind of thing that I think would be a pretty funny idea. Like, there's a racing game and you're at the starting line, and all of a sudden, whatever referee or somebody comes over and they're like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa! Do you have a license for this?" And the game then becomes about getting a license. So, like, I like that. I'm gonna write this down. Talking about a racing game. I don't think that's for this particular version because, like, I do want these art assets to be used. But if we had an asset about, like, I don't know, collecting papers or something, or yeah, insurance hunt. Yeah. So I think this sort of thing would be funny. And this is the idea, like, I kind of think about it as games should fit at least one category: fun, funny, or story driven, I guess. I don't know, like story based. And they could be all three or just two of them, but it needs to be at least one of these. And so that means that sometimes there's going to be a game that's just funny. There's no game to play. Yeah, it's insurance hunt, and you got to get the best policy. And I don't know. There's like some drawn out, like, okay, have you reviewed this document? Do you agree? We could poke fun at how people sign huge documents without reading them. Yeah. But yeah, this game is starting to take shape. I still am not totally set on the racing aspect. In fact, I'm not even certain it needs to be a race. This probably doesn't even need to be a racing game. Although I think it makes sense since we don't have many attacks or animations. Also, racing games kind of, I don't know, I think they kind of drive some people up a wall because anything with time makes people feel rushed and they're not expecting it. So like if you go play Mario Kart, you're expecting it's a literal racing game. You're going to probably feel rushed, but you go in with that expectation. If you're playing some, match 3 puzzle game and there's a counter at the top counting down from 1 minute, probably like, what? Like, I just want to play the game. Yeah, I was thinking about this. Driving a wall. You can do that in Mario Kart. Hey, Skogel. Do like the idea of a racing game. I think if it's a racing game, you would need to see your opponents racing as well. So we'd probably have connected rooms so that there are no gaps or like screen switches. So yeah, here you can only see this one room, and presumably if you go off the top, it'll like scroll the screen and you go to the next section. But it could just be one massively connected world, and you're supposed to find the best path from start to finish. And there could be lots of like secrets in here. And we can make different courses too. I kind of like that idea. So ideas I like. There could be different courses, but you're only expected to complete one of them. Each course is a massive interconnected dungeon. Maybe you have a mini map or something, but in general, you're expected to find the best path to the finish line. There could be secrets, e.g. staircases or portals. Maybe the way out isn't even to complete the race. It could be to do some side objective within the course. drift into enemies. I mean, to defeat them, you'd probably just use your sword. We have sword graphics here, so yeah, I was thinking you do that. Maybe you can't hurt the other racers, or maybe you could, and they start to fight you. Like, yeah, maybe you have to defeat the other racers. Like, literally defeat with your sword. Or maybe it's about finding one of the racers who runs to a random room and talks to you. Oh, that would be really good. That'd be really, really good. They could be an agent in this world. Or maybe just, or maybe they're even sidekick. Yeah. And you don't realize it until talking to them. They need to look like sidekick, though. Yeah, so I think this would be one of those, like, just download this and then mess around with it. What is the... Where'd that go? What's the pricing again? $6? And it's until the end of this year, so it's totally fine. But then I could also get the entire pack for 26. But this is kind of questionable because each individual pack, oh wait, no, I just assume they're all $6. I don't actually know what they all are. This is 6. This is 6. This is 480. And this is 6. So you're saving like $2.80 or something? Hmm. Yeah. It's not that 26 is too much. It's just if I don't plan on using one of these packs, then there's really no point. But if we do have other courses, like if people like this game, then yeah, we could add in like a fire course or something. I'm not certain it would be all that fun because we'd probably have used all of our ideas in the very first course. All right, well, I'll link to this. It's $6, but it's part of a $26 pack of 5 here. Focus on designing the game and get to the assets at the end. I think because of how we're approaching this with so many different sub games, that there will be some games that are designed ahead of time, and then we're going to really struggle with the assets. There are going to be some games that are based on assets, and there's going to be some like mixture of the two. But yeah, in this case, I really like the assets. I think they're fitting. I think they have enough different animations and everything that I think this would be pretty cool to do. And I guess, yeah. Yeah, so I like this a lot. All right, neat. Hey, Codex. Put it on horses, make a Road Rash knockoff. Call it Road Wrath, Medieval Edition. Man, Road Rash. I remember playing that game. I think horse-based racing in a dungeon would be kind of cool. I think even just racing in this way in the dungeon would be kind of cool. So this is the kind of idea, let's go write this down, that I think we should download the assets at some point and just kind of mess around with. So let me look at sub games here. Medieval Racer, Dungeon Racer. All right, so assets. I'm just going to copy paste this stuff. Whoop, that didn't work. And then the ideas I like. Overview. Different race courses. Each course is a massive interconnection dungeon. There are enemy racers, probably these knights. Where'd the knights go? Here. They could have AI that routes them the same way every time. And then there were some ideas that I had about items. These items could be permanent across attempts. These items could be reusable and have cooldowns. Maybe you can hold 2 at any given time. Or they could be consumable. I don't know what's best. Yeah. What else did I have written down here? Yeah. So I think this is the kind of game that we should probably buy the assets for and then just mess around and see which ideas strike. I don't think we should get too prescriptive about game mechanics before that. Hey, Fallen Great. There is one question I'd like to answer, though, first, which is, well, maybe a couple questions. How is this a broken tutorial? Maybe the premise of the game is that it's just a dungeon and the knights are for hire, but you challenge them to a race. Maybe you can skip the race altogether if you want. No, that's probably silly. And then the other question is like, what happens if you lose or die? It could just reset the whole game back to the beginning. Yeah. Yeah, maybe this is a knowledge based game in addition to reflexes and dexterity, where knowing item locations is more important. Knowing item locations and the route are more important than execution. Because imagine you had like a paper maze, like, yeah, like this. And I don't know, maybe I show you this entire picture and then I'm like, okay, now all you get to see is this part of it. And I'm like, all right, which way do you go? You're like, well, I don't know, maybe I'd try solving it myself right now and I get to here or something. But you'll hit a branch and you won't know where to go unless you remember the entire maze. Now, if that were a game, that'd be frustrating. But if that's sort of part of the game, is like, well, you'll eventually learn that, oh, taking this path is bad. You should go right rather than down. It could be a little bit better. And that's kind of what I'm picturing, except for it's not a literal maze. It's a dungeon. There's probably a lot of interconnectivity. And you'll figure out a path through it. And maybe you could just follow the other characters, the knights. I don't know. Hey, Mr. Muffles. So I like this idea. I want to be careful about the ordering of games, but I don't think we need to worry too much because we haven't locked in on anything yet. So yeah, I think that's pretty good. So racing game, we kind of have. Whoops, that was supposed to be a check mark, not a star. Creature collecting game, I did not finish coming up with. Endless Runner would be different from the racing game. Did I write Lemmings down somewhere? Oh, general mechanic ideas. Oh, I really shouldn't have this in 2 separate locations, huh? Oh yeah, I definitely should not. Okay. Let me write this over here too. Genres. Also, don't forget to look through the ideas sections, e.g. generic ideas or generic mechanics. Is that what that even says? Yeah, general mechanics and specific mechanics. Cool. So I still want to think about the creature collecting game a little bit more. It's also different enough from all these other ones where I think it'd be fun. I really, really like the top-down shooter idea, and I definitely think that should be the next game. And I think it'd be fun to make and fun to mess around with. We still need monster graphics for it, which I never finished finding. We had a good character, at least. Yeah, it's gonna be very cool. We have a character. They have a gun. We got a bunch of pixel bullets that we found here. And I think the ones we'll probably use will be like these ones. Yeah, and there's a lot here. Oh, wait a second. These are in columns that are duplicated, right? I don't know what's going on. Maybe they're different speeds or something. I'm not sure. And then we just need enemies for that one. And I never found good enemy graphics for that. I'll take a tiny bit more of a look for this. I don't think this is probably super worthwhile to do. And they got to look like they fit that aesthetic. Old school isometric assets. What is this? No, these are super dark too. 32 rogues. Has this person made any? I think I looked at this already. Have they made any other ones that are just for like enemies? No. Man, there are a lot of talented artists out there. What about this? It'd be cool if you're gunning down skeletons and stuff. I don't see a lot of enemies here. I see a skeleton. There's a zombie or something. Where are the enemies? Where are the enemies? Huh, usually show them all off. What do they have here? Terrain, props, characters, skeleton. Yeah, okay. So skeleton and spider. Future roadmap is 3 other enemies. I mean, it looks like they're ancient ruins in here that they have more enemies too, right? Yeah, they have a few. Actually, maybe this could work. They need to be the right size. What else do they have here? I don't even see enemies in this one. Huh. Hey, Genzoe. Do you think the game developers should have portfolio websites? Do you have one? I think it depends on what you're looking for exactly. I kind of just consider Steam to be somewhat of a portfolio website. So, like, I only have released 2 Steam games, and one of them's not even playable anymore. But yeah, if people wanted to know, they could just look here and see what this is all about. And I think that's best for a portfolio because it's like, hey, you actually released a product. It's got reviews. You could go play it or buy it or whatever. You could watch people play videos, or sorry, you could watch videos of people playing it. Because every once in a while, someone will send me an application of like, hey, can I work for you? Which I'm not advertising that I'm even trying to find someone for a job. So I don't know why they do that. But whenever someone shares like, oh, hey, here's my GitHub, I'm like, okay, well, what did they complete or what did they do? Like, I'm not looking to hire, but I'm still kind of curious that people who are reaching out to me. And yeah, if it's not a release game, I do tend to judge a little bit more harshly of like, okay, well, why isn't it released? Like, why haven't you finished this? They didn't put them on Steam, that it makes sense. Yeah, if you don't release it. But the way I look at it is like Steam has a $100 fee. You get that back if you sell $1,000 of, or if you like get $1,000 of revenue, I think. But $100 to like put your game out there is not a massive fee. I get that it can be limiting for some people, especially if you're a student or something. But yeah, I think it gives you much more reputation as a game developer. But I don't think anyone should take my opinions on this really because I'm not like, it's not like I'm looking to hire people. It's not like I have hired people for this stuff before. These enemies are pretty cool looking. So maybe I'll just link to this and I'll say we could possibly pull some enemies from here. They look really cool. Still haven't settled on anything yet. These are cool, but spread across multiple packs. Did I find anything else? There's a bunch of animals. What are they? It's really bad. But what if it's like a hunting game where you just the animals are out to get you? Yeah, I don't like that. Yeah, something like this would be much better. This is 16 by 16 though. Do they have animations for their attacks, or are they just like idle animations included for each sprite? Yeah, they don't have attack animations. Yeah, just idle animations. Hey Maya, when you applied for jobs, I assume you sent your Steam link to the employer. Oh no, so I've only applied to one game dev job, and I shared I think back then it was like I had this game available. This was like the most recent thing I'd worked on, so I just shared this, and yeah, people in the office had played it and they liked it, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we spent some hours on that game." Oh, that's nice. But yeah, the other jobs I applied to, I don't think I talked too much about my game development because it just wasn't really relevant to the job. Well, that's not totally fair. It's on my resume. Like the last job I worked at, I think I talked about streaming pretty intensely because I'd been streaming for 5 years before it. And in that time, I needed to talk about what I was doing, which was working on Botland. For Google, what was more relevant? Yeah, I think what was relevant was like having startup, not even startup experience, but having like starting a company experience. I think startup connotes that you are trying to raise a ton of money, basically. But yeah, having experience with that, just software engineering experience, and then yeah, past jobs I'd worked at, that sort of thing. It's always hard to know who's even reading your resume or looking at your portfolio, especially in the days of AI. Like how many people are just automatically scanning it or were automatically scanning it even back then. And the way that a lot of tech companies do interviews is they're generally kind of three categories. There's the more design focused ones, there's the more coding focused ones, and there's more behavioral focused ones. This person conducting them might actually look at your resume. The other ones probably wouldn't. They'd probably just ask you their canned question. They wouldn't do any research into you ahead of time. Because I've been on the flip side of this. I have interviewed people, just not for my own company, really. And yeah, I didn't go look at people's resumes typically because that wasn't relevant to the kind of interview I was doing. It was like, hey, can you answer this coding question? Can you talk through the problems? And it didn't matter if you went to school somewhere, if you had a degree, or if you were working at Amazon for 12 years. It just mattered, could you solve the question? Now, granted, that doesn't mean that no one in the process looked at it, it's just that I didn't. I think I might have conducted like one or two behavioral interviews, in which case I did look at them. All right. I said I want to look into some more of these monsters. What is this? Oh, this is just a tile set. I still want to find enemies, and I just don't. I don't see any that would totally fit, but they'd have to have attacking animations, and I think that's the key thing. That a lot of these just have idle animations. And just having idle animations would work really well for like a Vampire Survivors type of game. But I think for this top-down shooter, I think you want them to attack you in certain ways. But maybe that's not a good idea. I don't know. I'll write that down. Yeah. I kind of want there to be attack animations so that you can tell how each monster interacts. But maybe this should be more like a horde-based shooter. There are lots of enemies closing in on you. What if you have the enemies? There are cars to foreshadow the racing game. Wouldn't it just seem like you're like shooting at people on a highway or something? I do think it's a funny idea though, having enemies be cars in a game where you're typically fighting skeletons or something. Slime mob. This is one of my man, I always saw asset packs like this. And this is how much for, yeah, 250. So I don't know exactly what you get. I'm not going to read through this whole thing. It's a bunch of animations, right? But like you're getting a slime creature in different colors. And I always thought, who buys this? Not that it's bad art. I like the art, but who buys this and finds a use for it in their game? Like it's got to fit your aesthetic. You've got to need just a slime with just these animations, right? And now that I'm making this particular game, I'm like, okay, well, I can find a use for this stuff. Also, this is rather unfortunate. I feel like they shouldn't have chopped off their text here like this. All right, well, I could go through this forever, and I think that's a bad idea. So let's not go through this anymore. I do want to do the top-down shooter. I think we, yeah, like still to do, need to settle on monster assets. Kind of leaning toward just having swarms of monsters rather than smart ones that attack in specific ways. Hey, Arcturus. That's a difficult part about pre-made assets, finding things that match your aesthetic or at least match each other's style. Not even that, but also match what you need out of them. Like, let's say you found an asset pack that's got a character with a sword and a shield, and you're like, well, I also need a spear. Too bad, right? Like, they didn't have one with a spear, so now you just don't have it. And let's say they had, and you want an axe or you want a bow and arrow. And if you were an artist, you could draw those things and fill them in. But like for me, if an asset pack is missing something, like sure, maybe I could draw some geometric shapes. This probably wouldn't be too bad. But yeah, I can't draw, like we just picked this, for example. I can't fill in any of these. I was like, oh, I want a different hat. Like, I'm not that good. If you were to study CS core, where would you start and how? I think it depends on how you define the core of computer science. Like a lot of people consider it to be coding or programming, but what's that saying? Computer science or computers are to computer science as telescopes are to astronomy. Like you don't really need a computer for computer science, but a lot of people don't think that way and just think it's coding. Anyway, I would probably think of it as more coding centric, and I'd probably start with coding. And as far as like what exactly, I think I'd pick a language that is modern and supported and then just kind of get to work. I'd read documentation, I'd practice, I'd look up tutorials, I don't know, buy books or something, and I'd mess around with that. That's not really computer science though entirely. That's one aspect of computer science. Like there's the theory behind it all. There's all the different branches of anything you do with a computer, databases, graphics, networking, operating systems, programming languages. So yeah, it depends on what exactly you're trying to learn. Hey, Abyssus. How should I find UI, enemies, tiles? Yeah, yeah. And then the other concern with asset packs, by the way, I'm glad I could help be an inspiration. The other concern with asset packs is let's say you do use them. So, for example, Realm of the Mad God has some assets that were licensed for other people to use. Is this not going to load? Oh, there it goes. So, like, I bought these assets myself, and now I could use it in my game, but people might see that and be like, you stole these from somebody else without knowing how licensing works. So yeah, you got to be careful at that too. And actually, this is one of the things I was just talking about the other day. So I bought that platformer character, and I showed this the other day, so people have probably already seen this. But yeah, this character is in our game. It's a platformer character. It costs $15. Comes with a bunch of animations. This is going to be our main character though. So I reached out to the artist and said, hey, are you okay with me doing that? Like making this the main character? And as a result, that means we need them in a bunch of different styles. So Quickie Joe drew this for the farming game. So I really, really like this idea. But now someone else may see this in our game and be like, oh, I want this character too. They can go buy this one on the right. They can't buy the one on the left. And I can't stop them from doing that. So now imagine if I were Nintendo and this character on the right were Mario, and I made my entire, empire off of Mario, and someone else could be like, oh, $10, Mario's mine. So that could be a concern for some people. I don't think it's a big concern for this game, but could be. All right, I want to plan one more game, and I've got about an hour and maybe 20 minutes. So let's see. We've got a couple of these more, like, they're slightly bigger games. I want to come up with what is solidly a mini game. I've been planning what I would call games although they're not huge. But I want something solidly in the mini game territory. You also review projects? Occasionally I do. Every once in a while, someone will reach out to me and say like, "Hey, I've got my demo on Steam. Can you check it out?" I'm not I'm not opposed to doing that, but there are some things you should know if you ask me to do this. One is that I'm generally very terse and direct about my feedback. I don't like most games, and I don't I don't get to everyone's games, I guess. So like I need to trust the person enough to know that I'm downloading something that's not going to, just be a virus. So generally if someone came into the stream and they were as nice as you could imagine, but they've only been on Twitch for one day, it's like I'm not going to download something from that person. And then yeah, not liking most games. None of this is with malice, but like if I played just 10 random top games on Steam, the odds that I like any of them are much slimmer than the average person, I think. I just expect very specific things out of games. And it's not like I go negatively review games or something. But yeah, if someone asks me to review a game and I'm like, well, I'm not having fun, but I recognize this is well crafted, then yeah. I think one of the things that I've noticed playing other people's demos a lot of the time is tutorial content is lacking. And not like, hey, go press this button or do this thing, but more like imagine if you'd never played a first person shooter before, like never in your life. Like you wouldn't know to just press WASD maybe to move. Like something should probably tell you that. Something should have some like here's how you do things or here's how you're expected to operate. And maybe it's a little different with FPS because it does directly pull from what exists in real life, like literal guns and grenades and whatever else. But yeah, imagine a game like I don't know, Hearthstone. Like card games exist, but not that kind of card game in real life. Or at least not most people have played it, right? You've played like Solitaire and Free Cell and stuff, but you haven't played like you have a minion and what's the attack power and how do they attack and what does summoning sickness mean, and so those sorts of things you have to explain. And if a game just assumes that you know it and you've never played that genre, it can be pretty jarring. What game have I played the most? Like single game? Probably either Diablo 2, Smash Melee, or WoW. And if we're talking about series, then probably the Smash series. Because Diablo, I didn't really play many of the other games. Just 2 was so good. And WoW, I didn't really play Warcraft 1, 2, or 3 that much. Top Steam games are pretty trash. It's so sad. Well, just to be clear, that was just an example. I'm not trying to say the top games are trash. I'm trying to say, like, let's say you picked your top 10 games. Like, the odds that I like them probably wouldn't be very high. And yeah, that's not a slam on the games or anybody. It's just my expectations and what I want out of a game. Yeah. There are a few things like one of the top qualities I want out of any game is I want it to respect my time. As an example of a game that doesn't do this, and not a specific game, but imagine you played Zelda and the walking speed is 10% of what it should be. There are some games that do this, not to that extent, but like this just doesn't respect your time. It's like there's no reason for them to have made the walking speed that slow. And I'm not saying Zelda did this. I don't know what game has actually done this. I just know that I've been bothered by the walking speed in some games. I've been bothered by the like menial tasks you have to do in some games. Again, if you give me a quest to say go kill 5 enemies, sure, fine. You give me a quest to say kill 500 enemies, that's a waste of my time. It's like, did you learn anything after killing the first 100 that you didn't know over the last 400? Yeah, so Ayush, hopefully that explains a little bit more what I was just talking about there. I don't know if you're delayed on the stream, but yeah, I expanded on it a bit. I think other ways, it's mostly the extent of doing those things and other menial tasks. So like Terraria, when it starts you out, you have basically nothing, and you collect wood and copper and I don't know, whatever other things, water, potions. If you're going to play through the game a second time, I don't want to have to go through all that again. So there were some mods that I played for Terraria that gave you like a starter pack. They're like, oh, hey, here's a steel axe and here's a sword from the mid game or something. So it's like, oh, cool. I don't need to go through the tedium at the beginning of the game, which is fun when you play through the first time, but not necessarily fun the second or third or 10th time. Yeah. Okay, so solidly in the minigame territory, and I think we have a couple ways of doing this. So like routes we could take here is look at asset packs for inspiration. Look at games for inspiration. I generally don't like doing this. And think of untouched genres or gaps. Oh, think of like, yeah, gaps that we have in what's currently planned. I think the asset pack could be one way of doing this. I'll take a quick look. Actually, this was one of those games where I thought this is a solid, like well-built asset pack. It's got enough to make a full game. And we came up with a basic game idea for it. So yeah, in terms of that, how much is this? $15, yeah. I think that would be pretty cool. But I wonder what else we could find. Hey, what's this? What is this? Pixel art VFX? This looked like it was... Oh, I see. I just assumed it meant sound effects. Let me mute this just in case. FX Survivors, press space. What's going on? What is going on? Oh, that's my attack? I was like, who's this character is walking around? I see. Sure. Oh, here's another one of these that I was looking at. If we're going to do some kind of like racing game in a dungeon, we could use this too. I think one of the things we need to figure out too is this game supposed to be mechanically fun, but just short / simple? Or is it supposed to be a joke? Because I could see even using one of those like farming packs like this, which I think we already have plans to use. But imagine if it was just like you're just clicking crops to harvest them. So it's just the collection aspect of games, of farming games, I mean. Joke? Yeah, I'm talking about for Stuck in a Broken Tutorial. So a lot of, I was saying this earlier, the game should either be fun or funny or story based or some combination thereof. So there are going to be some games that they're not really fun. It's just a joke, and then you're done with the game. Like imagine a crop slot machine where it plants based on what comes out of this slot machine, basically. And this is where I guess something that might lend itself well to a short game that's simple is a clicker game. But I think they all need to be broken. Would be broken about the game. And I think the breakage could be part of what's funny about this. You play as the crop. Did you hear about my my farming RPG? You play as the farm. So like WSD moves the entire map and your goal is to like move the land so that the farmer plants in the right spot or something like that. I don't know. But yeah, I think this would be very funny. I wonder if we could position that sort of thing. Are we gonna do spooky games? Probably not, or at least not really spooky games. My idea that I had for a spooky game was a horror game where the monsters are just literal text representations of the scary thing. Like dying alone comes out of a dark room, or I don't know, a really large spider. So it's more funny than it is scary, and it's kind of just poking fun at what people are scared of. The end boss is the concept of dying alone. You know what would be good for this, I think? I think the best way to tackle this is to look through my joke ideas and see how we could form a game from one of them. So I have a bunch of them written down over here. Let's go take a look. Okay, the first thing that came to mind, I don't know why this came to mind, staircase simulator. I think it's I think it's this thing that I was talking about. Like you're in a dungeon, there are staircases, they lead somewhere. Take them all and find out. Sounds so stupid. Oh, man. This is another pretty decent idea. RPG ring idea of having 30 rings across your hands. Another kind of concept of this, like there are a lot of different asset packs that have items and inventory and whatever else. And if we just look at like RPG icons, for example, there's some that have like a billion of these. Where are the big ones? I don't know. Anyway, let's take a look at this. This only has the one picture. Wait, what's going on here? Where are the ones that have like 3,000 images? I'm surprised it's not showing up toward the top. Maybe just icons. Ah, there we go. Yeah, like 1,000 plus. Yeah. So imagine something like this. Where'd the tab just go? Yeah. So some kind of like item duplicator game where you have an inventory and let's say you've got a stack of potions. It usually shows up something like this in games. And imagine if you had an empty slot over here and when you drag the potion over to this, it actually duplicates it. So you need to learn about this mechanic and then like sell all your items and get a ton of money. And it would just be a mini game. Something in like 2 minutes, you're like, oh, haha, that's cool. And it's kind of a game and kind of a joke. I'd play that horror game. Hey, Kyle. When the person comes in the door and you hide under the bed, and that's how the monster got under the bed or hide in the closet. Are you saying this would be one of the things? Like you see text saying this? And that would be another scary thing in the game. I got to keep an eye on the time now. I have my meeting at 3 o'clock. Yeah, I like this idea about duplicating items. Did I write this down somewhere? Where is that? Yeah. Okay, so I had this written down. I do like the idea of an inventory-based game. There needs to be a premise. So I guess you're a character in an RPG. A lot of these are going to take that same kind of trope of like, hey, you're an RPG character. It doesn't have to be. Maybe you're in like the modern office and you've got all these like swords and stuff. It's incongruent, but there's going to be a lot of that's prevalent in this game. But yeah, imagine you're sitting at a computer and you've got like a purple spear and a whatever fiery arrow and a tunic. All right, I'm just going to run with this for a sec. Maybe you're in a modern office environment. You have a bunch of items in your inventory. Your boss comes over and asks for your report. It's one of the items in the inventory, but you drop your spear on the ground. Your boss is aghast. I don't know where I'm going with this. Game that uses your mic. I can't just assume that people have microphones over this. But yeah, mic-based input would be kind of interesting. It could always be an add-on to a game. There was some specific pack that existed that had, it was like the mega pack or something of icons. It had 4,000 game icons or 6,000 RPG icons. Let me see if I can find it today. Yeah, 6,000. Why did this not show up when I searched for icons? Or did it? I don't see it, but it's this. Ponetti. Yeah, no, I don't see it. And I don't even know if these are... Is this AI? How did they make this not AI? How did they make this many of these? Must have just been drawing these over and over and over again, right? They look pretty good. Yeah. All right, well, an ad's about to start, so I'll go take a quick break. Is it jump time? It's jump time. Okay, close the game. ABC. All right. So the idea of an inventory. Also, wow. A lot of icons over here. I wonder, what if he dropped you into the middle of a game? Well, okay, hold on. What do I even want? I want the item duplication thing to be important, but I don't think there's an easy way to do that. So it had to be a game about selling. I want item duplication to be important. It needs to be a game about selling or consuming so that you have a use for all of the extra items. Maybe it's Skeleseller that you're in and you're able to duplicate items somehow. Hey, go Magnus. Hey, Pretzel, sorry, I thought I might have said hi to you already. Maybe the duped items have a quality based on some timed input. Well, I was thinking of some kind of like arbitrage exploitation game. Like you buy items from vendor A and sell them for more to vendor B, but you are actually duplicating items along the way. I'm not sure. The other thing we could do is some kind of game with an obvious mechanic. Like imagine mini golf. Mini golf's mechanics are pretty easy. It's hit the ball in the hole, right? Hit the ball in the hole. But you had some kind of like you could adjust the power infinitely or add a homing attachment. What about a platform where you can place items and you can dupe the items so you can get to places you aren't supposed to? The thing is, for the duplication that I was thinking of, it's got to seem like it's unintended. Because if you can just place an infinite amount of items, people might be like, oh, that's the game. I'm not breaking anything. Did I ever write the Incredible Machine on here? Because that was always a pretty cool idea for a game. Oh my God, I can't type. Some kind of like Rube Goldberg-esque contraption. Maybe in a, yeah, I don't know. A purchasing mini game where the prices are in alien symbols and you have to figure out how you can afford things. Maybe some things actually give you money. This would be a cool idea for a game. Like the characters are talking to you and they tell you in it like a clear message, but in a language you can't understand. So if you decipher the letters, you'd be able to read it. Although that means that you'd have to translate the alien language from like English and German and French and all these other things, or just have it be a totally alien language. Anyway, they're saying things like you can't afford that, or here's some extra money, thank you for doing this, and you need to figure out the solutions. I think that would be an interesting game, but it might not be fun. Well, so what I was thinking about for the duplication thing, like I said, in some games there's the concept of unstacking items. And imagine if you unstack at the exact same time you do something else and it like duplicates the item onto the other one. Or actually, I guess it can be even simpler than that. Do we have like a... Can I show this online? Yeah, maybe the duplication thing is just trying to swap items in your inventory. I like the idea of a game where you can move items around in inventory. And moving item A onto item B duplicates the item. But moving onto empty slots doesn't. The weird thing about this kind of game is, let's say you have an inventory where you have a potion and it's worth whatever, 3 gold. And you have a sword and it's worth 10 gold. And you have a, I don't know, like powerful gem and it's worth 500 gold. And you don't know what you're doing because this is a brand new game. And you dupe the potion onto the gem. So now you have 3 gold, 10 gold, and 3 gold. You've lost whatever game this is. Like, how do you restart? And you'd have to know that you have to restart. I don't know, maybe there's some like time-based thing. Could trigger the restart. Like, oh, you ran out of time to collect as much money as you need. Yeah, the random duping or fusion, it's kind of what I was thinking of, except in this case, it'd be based on a rule that you have to discover, and nothing's telling you to discover the rule. Maybe, in fact, it's just telling you, like, the tutorial could just tell you about relocating items in your inventory. Maybe doing so is supposed to be for aesthetics or some kind of comfort from them jutting out of your like knapsack. but you end up duping them in the process. Or maybe it's something even simpler than that. Like Baldur's Gate 3 had an interface for buying items where you and the vendor both had, yeah, something like this. So maybe it's like when you drag an item from your side onto your own side, it duplicates it, but dragging it onto the vendor sells it. And the game teaches you to drag it onto the vendor and just trust that you don't try anything else. And then there could be a game around this of like going and fetching items, and there could be one around, or you could just skip the whole thing by duplicating items. Worry about players using up their last one and running out too. Yeah. Could be like the BG3 interface, but dragging an item onto your own side would dupe it. Maybe you have a way of getting more items in the world by slaying rats or something. So that you wouldn't need to dupe items. Because this joke is only funny if you actually discover this. If you don't discover this, there's a big problem. And part of it could be that you realize you can't get farther in the game. But I find that if you can turn your brain off for a whole game and then you're expected to turn it on at some point, people won't turn it on. But if you're taught to turn your brain on at the beginning of the game, then people will start thinking about it. So like puzzle games, you typically have your brain on the entire time. But yeah, you might be playing like Pokemon and you're on autopilot and then you encounter a puzzle and you're like, what? What am I supposed to do? So what I was getting at is, let's say you had a money goal of like 1 million and your item sales are getting you 1 gold each time. It's like you can't reasonably expect a player to get 1 million items legitimately. So there must be some other way. So like you need to figure it out, but you wouldn't think of just randomly moving around UI elements. You need the player to realize they got an unexpected outcome. Yeah. Yeah. But I want to keep going through this list and just seeing, is there anything else that could kind of fit here? Hmm. Hmm. It's tied back into the museum idea. Had the player duplicate priceless artifacts to sell them without the museum catching on. I think the funny part about you robbing a museum and selling their own artifacts and replacing them with food items is like, it's just so humorous to me that it has to be that if we do that idea. Because the idea of duplicating priceless artifacts doesn't have an extra layer of comedy. It's just that, yeah, it's more on its face, I feel. Hmm. Well, we put bots down in the act according to pre-made scripts. If we want, we could like rearrange high level blocks of logic. And then these are like mini games. It would be kind of funny. All I have written here is loot boxes. It would be kind of funny if there was a tutorial that said, so click the loot box to open it, and you get like 5 items out of it. Now, purchase another loot box using your premium currency. And then you just keep opening these for no reason. There's a way to exit the tutorial and just walk into the next game. I like this idea that there's this nonsensical, like, how many loot boxes will you open? The satire here is that even without a game, people would probably still open many loot boxes or realizing that they should move on and that there's no point. It's a commentary, but the thing that I'm worried about is I think there are games where if you have loot boxes in them, you can't sell them in certain countries, but I think they're paid loot boxes. Like Belgium is one of those countries, right? Loot box ban. Yeah, what is the actual ban? What is it? Those that can be bought for real money must now be removed. Yeah. So as long as this is just an in-game thing, I think this is fine. And I actually think this is hilarious. So I kind of want to do this. I think this could be one of the just like, it's a funny game. Well, I think even the credit card thing, like we just distill this down to its most basic element. Like click button, get items. You don't know what the items are for. There's literally no purpose to the items. You just see your inventory filling up with all this cool stuff. Maybe there are tooltips for the items. Yeah, I think we need to do this. I think this is a great idea. All right, I'm gonna write this down. Loot boxes. So overview. This is more of a commentary. So the game is literally just an inventory screen and a way to keep opening loot boxes. There is no end to the loot or the loot boxes. There is no purpose for the loot. You need to pry yourself away from the flashy lights and exit to the next game. More of a commentary / satire. People are so addicted to loot boxes that they don't even need a reason to open them. Yeah, ideas. Maybe the game has you use your premium currency to open the boxes, but you keep getting just enough to afford the next loot box. Maybe you can sell, okay, maybe that's it. Maybe you can sell items for the premium currency, but there's still no point. There is one question, which is how exactly do you exit this? Because at some point, people are going to be like, how do I use the loot? And then they'll probably accidentally discover that you can just like walk through the portal. And as far as what icons we use for this, there was a much better one of these, like this one maybe. This, well, maybe not this one exactly. But something with just a ton of items. Yeah. Is there any AI in here? I'd like to not get AI assets. $180 for all of these? Do I even need? This is not that many packs. Wow. I'm kind of surprised. Like, this is $15? What's in here? Hundreds of tiles, doors. I mean, it doesn't look bad, but I don't think this is worth $15. Yeah, I think they are selling these for a pretty high price. Yeah. This game seems like rage bait. I mean, the loot box one might seem like a little bit. The overall game is supposed to be funny. It's supposed to be lighthearted. Can never be reached. People will be addicted and try. Well, also they might think there's some achievement around it. What was the other idea that I had here? So like we could use this. I'll just I'll put this down here. Assets. Oh yeah, that we could have funny tooltips for the items. We just need a bunch of icons for this and then an inventory asset. I'm sure we could make something like that pretty easily. I still want to find the other icon set. There's some like mega pack that existed somewhere. Itch, tons of RPG icon. That one I found. Maybe this one? Is this free? What's their license for this? Oh, AI assisted. I don't want this. Is it this one? Save 96%. For $49, you can have every single asset pack this person's ever made. Wait, what's that? Boss spaceship? No. Yeah, I don't think I would need most of these. Also, I don't think this is very good for items exactly. Let's just do this site itch.io. Yeah, this is the one I found. Honestly, that one's not bad. I don't mind it. I just could have sworn there was another one. Maybe this one? No, there aren't that many different items in here. I just need there to be like a crazy amount of variety. That's it. Yeah, I think the 1,000 icons is probably best. This one's probably not bad either. Yeah, it's not bad. How much is this one? This is free? What's their license? CCBY 4.0. Okay, yeah. Wow. All right. Has keys in it. Funky Monkey, how's it going? Thanks for the resub. I was just talking about you the other day because I was showing a friend / one of your former clients some of the logos that Quickie Joe had drawn, and he said, "Who did this? Was it Funky Monkey?" And I was like, "No, it was somebody else." But yeah, we're getting closer to when we're gonna plan our trip. By the way, I've only told you a plan of a plan, and now I'm telling you about a different plan of a plan. But I will definitely follow up with you once we have concretized anything. But yeah, I hope you're doing well. All right, so they have a lot of stuff in here. I like this. I think this is what we should use. I think this is the one. Yeah. All right, so this is great. We probably need some like loot box graphic. It could just be a treasure chest that opens, and we could even use the one from Skeleseller. Another idea, maybe you can get the ability to open multiple loot boxes at a time. And the only question is, how exactly do you leave the game? I'm concerned that people may expect to be able to use their loot and accidentally discover that they can leave at any time. Yeah, we'll do. Maybe there's a close button for the loot screen, and you find yourself standing right next to a portal. Yeah, that could be good. Yeah, this is great. I like this a lot. I think this would probably be the next game. So I think games in order that I want to pursue them would probably be this top-down shooter. I really, really like this. Then I think loot boxes would be best next. Did that just work? Yeah. Have a sign by the door with a countdown to 1 minute since last. Wait, what? A countdown to 1 minute since the last loot box opened? The idea of having how long has it been since you opened a loot box could be funny. I don't understand the countdown part, I think. All right, so next games I want to pursue. Top-down shooter, loot boxes. Have the door locked until they can tear themselves away for long. Oh, I see. I see. You have to wait for an entire minute. You have to resist the urge to open loot boxes. Oh man, we could actually have some. That's another idea. We could have some like frantic music, or maybe like really upbeat. We could have some upbeat, chipper music playing while opening loot boxes, and then closing the menu could play some like desolate wasteland, discordant notes, whistling wind, howling of wolves or something. Just it's like this dark, creepy music. Selling them, start reducing the price to try to lure them back. Yeah. Magnus suggested having like forcing the player to wait X seconds without getting a loot box before they can leave. And there are like frantic NPCs trying to convince you to buy more. They lower the price, they offer more items, and like we need to juice up the experience of getting items as much as possible. Like critical loot, 5x bonus, ultra rare. Yeah. Everything is in all caps. All text is rainbow or flashing or tweening in size. Oh my god. I think you could be at a marketplace and there's a portal just barely off screen. Or maybe it's on screen but slightly inconspicuous. Pop up say click me. Loot frenzy. We have loot. We have like a loot meter that fills up and gives you bonus loot if you open the boxes fast enough. Oh my god. And names of games don't show up in the game, but if they did, this one would literally be called loot boxes. There is no better name than that. Just call it what it is. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I like this. The Dungeon Racer game I also really like. I want to put that up here too. Where is that? I didn't even put that down. Medieval Dungeon Racer. Whoops. Lutacular. God, this is gonna be so silly. The combo counter. Actually, maybe that's how we do it. Maybe it's not a loot meter. It's a combo counter or something, or item meter or something. I'm not sure. Yeah, but we need there to be like a lot going on in this game. And we need to make sure you don't accidentally close. We should probably make sure you don't accidentally close the loot dialogue with the B button. Like it should require clicking or like moving to the X of the window to close it. Yeah. And maybe upon clicking the X, it asks, are you sure you want to temporarily stop opening loot boxes. If you continue now, we'll give you 5 loot boxes for free. And it could say like, don't not quit, and do stop not opening loot boxes. I don't know. Just some like nonsensical dialogue options. Uh, these don't make sense, but those don't make sense, but you get the idea. Are you sure you want to not stop, no longer not opening loot boxes? Okay. There was just one other idea that I had here that came up as I was thinking about this. Oh, yeah. Maybe you have to buy the loot boxes so at any point you can see how many you still have. And if you're out, the game tutorial has you use your premium currency. Yeah. Oh man. Okay. Yeah. So we came up with a few different sub games that I think would be pretty good. I still like some of the old ideas that were here too, although I didn't have all of them totally planned out. Was this the super pixel effect? Wait, where was the? What am I looking at? There was some like Samus style character here. Yeah, this character. I don't think there were a lot of animations for this stuff though. And is this a pack? Yeah, okay. Gothic Vania collection. This just makes me think, what if you're in this Castlevania game and you're fighting, you think it's a normal game, and then you eventually die, and now you become the vulture. And your goal is to find your like dead character's body, and then you win. Because this makes it look like you're playing as a vulture, right? I think they're just trying to show off, here's what the characters look like that we have. But yeah, that would be kind of funny. It's like Delson. These are like very expensive bundles. I'm kind of surprised. Also, the price went up since I last looked at this. Huh. I think it did because I wrote 220. Maybe it was in a different pack. Strange. There are a bunch of different packs. Move forward, defeated, get up, combo. There's no jump. Kind of surprised about that. Huh. Yeah, they have sales a lot of the time here. This person does seem to produce a lot of these. Wait, no, this is a different person. Pizza Doggy. Could make a Castlevania game where you die and then play as a vulture who has to find the dead body in the castle. All right. I think I'm pretty happy with this. I'm really excited about this. I kind of want to start working on this. We don't have the monster assets yet though. Although we could just use kind of anything. And this will be top down. I guess we need an environment too. Need an environment as well. We had some traps and stuff. Yeah, I don't think they had an environment, did they? No. Out of curiosity, here are their pixel UI icons that are made with AI, apparently partly made with AI and hand corrected. Okay. So any like weird artifacts they probably removed. I was just curious. No, I don't see any environments here. So we need to find something else in terms of environments. Tile set. Could be almost anything, right? Like even this would probably work pretty well. Yeah. It's be $4. It's just gotta fit the size. This character is what exactly? The dimensions are here. 16 by 32. So it'd work pretty well with 16 by 16 tiles, maybe. Although we could always try it with a free pack. Yeah. Maybe this would work. We could always test it. Still need monster assets though. I just don't know what to do for that. If I just click top rated, what do we see here? Legacy Fantasy. It's got to be a top down. What's this? What is the size of this? I don't even see where that's listed. I'll just search for 16. Yeah, there it is. 16 by 16. Tech dungeon. I see. Idle talk, reload, run, shoot, death. Huh, interesting. This would be pretty much all the assets we might need. They don't face 8 directions. Also, I like the idea of the female character because then we can put in player on top. God, I'm just such a sucker for like this style of graphics. I really like Super Nintendo graphics, and it reminds me of those. But also just knowing that it's like colorful and light and cheery sometimes. Like, I don't usually like playing some super dark game. I remember playing I think the original Doom on N64 and needed to turn like gamma way up on the TV. No game should be this dark. It was probably a good game. I don't know. I didn't play a lot of it. Yeah, not a lot of focus on enemies for this sort of thing, huh? Is this the one I'd found earlier? Yeah. And I like their enemies, but it feels like I'd be buying each pack just for one enemy. $38. Also, you'd be blasting goblins and orcs and stuff with guns. Doesn't exactly fit. And I probably wouldn't use any of the other graphics. I just need some good enemies. There's something good in here. Retro enemies. It's a little too retro. I wonder if we can make a game out of this. And I wonder what it would be. Yeah, the best thing I found so far were these, and they just have idle graphics. How large are the sprites in here? Maybe we could just start slapping them together anyway. Like there is a download now, and you'll get the free part, and then I could just look and see if the free ones match up with the other ones that I have. It says canvas 80 by 80. If each graphic is 80 by 80, then it means that I could turn it into 16 by 16 very easily. Well, then I guess they'd be half the height of the character. Let me look at Vampire Survivors really fast. Vampire Survivors. Yeah, they just use standalone sprites for all this stuff. How much does this cost now? $5? Wow. Yeah. I mean, if we go this route, then it's got to be a horde shooter like this. And I think we can do that. Yeah, I think we can. Maybe it's more of a horde shooter. Yeah, so I think what we do, if moving forward, try a lot of the free versions of the assets to see if they'll work well enough together. And then start mocking some of this stuff up. Animated by just stretching. Doesn't look good. Are those AI? I don't think they're AI. I think it's just somewhat lazy animation. No generative AI was used. Yeah. I know the animations don't look good. These, just consider that they're slightly better than regular sprites. That's all. But they have a bunch of different animations that none of them are pretty much usable except for this one. This one looks pretty good. This would be a pretty good dying animation, as would this one. Both of them are kind of fine. They're just exploding into pixels. Or that one too, I guess. So the dying ones, I guess we could use. All the other ones don't look very good. Because, yeah, they're just doing some, like, weird stretching. And I don't know why they give you all of those. Yeah. Isn't that called a bullet heaven kind of game? It is, but I don't want to go that exact route. Like, the original inspiration was something like Nuclear Throne, where there are a decent amount of enemies on the screen at a time. There's like what, 10 here or 12 maybe, but it's not a horde of them. I think the nice thing about the Nuclear Throne enemies is they all have their own custom animations. So like these wolves have guns on their backs and they shoot from the gun there. And these characters are melee characters that'll like try to pound your character. And the scorpions will shoot venom or poison or whatever. Uh, we won't have custom animations for those. So I still want there to be some like close quarters combat, but it's just going to be enemies like running at you, I guess. Maybe they have slightly different ways of running around. Well, some of them could shoot projectiles at you, right? Yeah, I guess whenever it makes sense, we could just have them do that. It doesn't ever really make sense. None of them have guns or anything. Wasn't I looking at something earlier where no, it's just those. I don't know. Yeah, laser beams from their eyes. Maybe. I mean, they'd just be shooting random projectiles from somewhere on their body or face. They don't really need to shoot, I guess. Yeah. There's at least a free version of this, so we could test that one out. We could test, I think this has a free version too. Yeah. We test that out. And then does this one? I don't think it does. No, it does have a free version too. Yeah. Yeah, so we could just test all these out and see how they look together. I think that's what we should do. The enemies would just walk into you. Maybe we do use traps occasionally that fire at you. What do we have for traps there? This says platformer, but maybe we can still have them. It probably doesn't fit the aesthetic of like a grassland or something. Yeah, in fact, since these aren't top down, they probably wouldn't look like they fit. Yeah, because I was thinking like a trap could pop out of the ground and start firing at you, and you could destroy the trap even. There's probably a thing we can find there. An asset pack. Yeah, there are a lot of... It kind of works. Not the same aesthetic. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure what we'll do for that. The blades could be top down. They could, yeah. They just wouldn't fire at you. And we don't really have an animation for destroying them anyway, do we? I mean, maybe it's something like this that shoots arrows out at you or something. This could look like it's, I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, for a top-down game, we gotta put some thought into this. So yeah, I'll mess around with that. Oh, hey, they made tile sets? Didn't I look at this person's stuff? I didn't see this. Hold on a second. Nature and Village. Oh, they did make this one. Oh, I wasn't looking for tile sets. I was looking for monsters. But actually, maybe we should use this then, right? They don't have a free version of this, but yeah, this could potentially work. It looks pretty good. Yeah, maybe we could. We also have a dungeon one here. This could be pretty fitting. Yeah, I like this. Character shown in the images is included? What character? Where's the character in the images? What are they talking about? Oh, this one? These are 48 by 48? Okay, so that means we shrink them to 16 by 16. They'd probably work just fine. Yeah, maybe this is good then. But there is no free version of this one. So we just have to buy it. And there's no animation for the lava? It's a bit strange, but we just don't have to use the lava. There's enough animation for other stuff. I think it's not a problem. This is by the same artist and probably fits better for having random monsters / demons. but there's no free version. Okay, so yeah, what I'm thinking is this. Let's close everything. This environment with this character I'm pretty much set on because they have 8 directions of firing animation, which I think is pretty good. Wait a second, shouldn't they have like a walk and shoot? Walk while aiming, shooting, and reloading. But they only have 6 directions of that? Just like we use 32 for 32 in the platformers and it's a different subgame? Yeah, yeah. I think the point is just at least there'll be multiples of 16 that we can use. Oh, also, I guess you can't technically guaranteed shrink down a 48 by 48 tile set without it looking bad. So yeah. Hey, 2 nerdy nerds. Thanks for the raid. Welcome in, everybody. How goes it? We're doing some game design here, but it is for... I think the easiest way is just to demo what I already have here. So let me show this off. Welcome in, Distron. Shrinking might make it look bad. Yeah. I think I know this artist. Oh, really? I like their work. I really like this character that they made. So yeah, I was looking through graphics for other sub games for this game that I'm making. So this is called Stuck in a Broken Tutorial. And I've been working on this for a little over a month now. And I'll just show you from the start of the game. So it starts, you're in a tutorial, press A to jump, pretty reasonable. You get up to here, press A in the air to double jump. So cool, you learned a new thing just because text told you. You can dash. So you work your way through this, but the game's called Stuck in a Broken Tutorial. So eventually you get to the broken part. And it's right here. So try to collect the diamonds. You can try, you cannot succeed. You fall, you fall, you fall. And you land after a very long time. Your life drops to next to nothing. You platform your way over here through the spooky area. And you make it to this door. And you get teleported into a completely different game. So yeah, when I'm talking about doing game design, this game is going to send you to lots of different sub games. So now we're in a farming sub game, and this guy is like, hey, your grandpa gave you a farm. You say, I'll figure it out. And yeah, platform mechanics are gone. You're now able to shovel out your farm if you want and plant seeds and water them, all for no purpose. But you will eventually go to bed and wake up. Now no longer in a new game, but still in the farming game. So you wake up, a bunch of time has passed, you walk outside, and your farm is completely overgrown with strawberries now. So anyway, you work your way through these games and you try to figure out like what's going on, how am I breaking out of these games, what am I doing? And eventually you'll work your way to these other games that we're designing. So what I was thinking of doing is making a top-down shooter as the next game. And the gimmick for that game would be that every upgrade you get is permanent, but the game makes it sound like it's not permanent. So you're expected to die a bunch of times, and the game gives you this structure as though it's just you who has to get better. But your character is getting better each time you die. And actually, maybe we should like make sure you've gotten power-ups each time. Maybe we like bump your power stat or something. I should probably write that down, because that's a good idea. If the player doesn't grab the power-up at the beginning, maybe we just like force upgrade them anyway with an invisible stat like power or defense. Yeah. How many people realize you can go through that door? There have only been 3 playtesters so far, and all of them realize you can go through that door. By the way, the way you go through that door is just by touching it. You don't have to press up or anything. And there's nothing else in that area at the bottom. So yeah, everyone has realized it so far. If it were ever a problem, we would definitely do something about it. But this entire realm is just like 3 screens. It's where you land, there's no way up, and then you have to go to the right, and then that's lit, and nothing else is lit over here. And I mean, there's nothing else you could even do. So yeah, if someone got stuck and they were like running around and couldn't figure out where to go, maybe I'd eventually put an arrow or something here. Could be interesting to mark. Oh yeah, I agree. Yeah. What do you stream, by the way, Two Nerdy Nerds? And hey, Airman. Legit thought you were stuck on the tutorial. This game is a dev scope nightmare. Yeah. I think it'll be fun to make. It'll probably take like 2-3 years, something like that. Do I play any games? Yeah, I play only 2 games right now though: the finals and Slay the Spire 2. And it's kind of more the finals than it is Slay the Spire 2 right now. But I'll probably be playing these games for the next like couple months at least. Yeah. So yeah, I think this game will be a lot of fun to make. I think all the sub games should be fun too. What's nice is, well, nice and bad, is that they're self-contained. So like this new game I'm talking about here, we'll use these graphics just for that game. We'll use the mechanics just for that game. So it'd be cool to like be done with it after some amount of time. But at the same time, it means that I can't reuse any of it. So I made all the platforming mechanics, I made all the farming mechanics, and you just never touch them again. So you're in the platformer game for literally maybe 90 seconds. This was a significant amount of work to get everything here. Like, look at all these animations. I didn't draw the sprites, but even just incorporating them in the game and getting the right like state machines here and diamonds and the little particle effect. And then Darkstorm made the world around this. And there's another game too that was based on this Fever Dream game with a bunch of like nonsensical aspects to it, like press jump to broccoli. This is after the farming game. You would have dreamt about this. And you have a bunch of like just zany things. So like you switch to the sickle, you throw sickles out of yourself and they can collect the strawberries. So yeah, a lot of this stuff just never got reused. And I think it'll make for a fun game. Just make it tough to create. Game dev with Godot, working on game 2. Cool. What's your game? Yeah. By the way, the next playtest that I have is in 22 minutes, so I definitely need to go somewhat soon. In fact, you know what I should do now is push the Windows build. Let's export Windows. Done. Okay, now all I need to do is upload it. And we got to commit this thing too. So yeah, I think I need to file away all of these notes. And then I think on Monday, what we're going to do is we are now in stabilization mode. I want to spend 2 weeks. I want to spend until June 5th just burning down this to-do list and any tech debt that we have so that I'm not saving all of this until the end. The way I see this is that it's not the most important thing right now, but I don't want to burn out at the end. Yeah. Reclaim the living. Oh, wait a second. Did you... Maybe I'm misremembering this, but did Chris Zukowski ever talk about your logo in a video? I can't recall. And maybe you might not even be aware because I don't know if he would have reached out to you or something. No idea? Okay, yeah. Oh man, hang on. Let me see if I can find that. There was some like talk show. Hang on. It was somewhat recent. Oh, how do I find this? Hey Fritz, thank you for the raid. I am trying to look up a video very quickly here, which I think might be a challenge. But yeah, welcome everyone. We've been designing some new sub games for Stuck in a Broken Tutorial, and it's been a lot of fun. Okay, I found the video. Now let me see if I can find. Let's see if I can find the part that I have. Where is it? Oh man. They were critiquing logos at some point. Because if I did remember this, that would be crazy. I think also you might have had to submit it. In which case, I'm doing this for no reason. I don't even know where in this video they talk about this. All right, I'm gonna spend another like couple of minutes on this. No, I can't find it. All right, I'll just link the video in chat. I don't recall. It doesn't matter. But yeah, anyway, I didn't actually read this. So let me read this. Reclaim the Living is a zombie horde survivor roguelike replay as Dr. J. Ferret, an eccentric scientist who developed a cure capable of turning the infected back to normal. Expand your laboratory and upgrade your arsenal of gadgets to save humanity. Okay, cool. Yeah. Yeah, neat. And good luck. I think making games on Twitch is helpful for marketing. Yeah. So I was just talking about the schedule here. Here was the plan. Finish checkpoint 1. The goal was today. And I did pretty much get done with it. We got to the point where you can take the portal out of the game. Oh, an ad break is running now. Oh, great. We got to the point where you can take a portal out of the game and it just puts you on the title screen. I think there's probably like 8 minutes of gameplay. So now I intentionally wanted to enter this stabilization phase where we don't touch new stuff. And it's going to be hard because I'm very excited about the new stuff. But then, yeah, plan checkpoint 2. I think actually the planning could happen while I'm stabilizing. I don't know. I think the planning is basically just going to be done throughout. So yeah, maybe tackle checkpoint 2 under July. And for this, I want to add, what, 3 new sub-games? Add 3 new sub-games. The top-down shooter, loot boxes, and the medieval dungeon racer. This is going to be tough. This is going to be really tough. And then I don't know if we need more stabilization. It's going to just be plan the roadmap again. So yeah, unfortunately, I think we're in for a couple of weeks of semi-boring work. But if we don't do it now, then we're going to be doing all the boring work at the end. And that's one of the biggest lessons from Skeleseller. So the last game I made was Skeleseller. I just launched it in March. And the remaining, like January until March was misery. And I do not want game development to be misery. And there's a knock-on effect from it being misery, which is that the misery led to burnout, which led to not touching it again at all. I haven't done any marketing on it. I haven't looked at sales. I haven't, the one thing, I guess I did 2 things technically. One is I did create some bundles with some other game developers. And the second thing is I reached out to a Japanese translator and they've been working on the localization. So yeah, other than that, I haven't done anything here. And I don't want to cross the finish line with a new game and be like, well, never touching that again. I'd like to still be invested and interested in it. So yeah, next 2 weeks should be things like setting up a Steam page maybe, and I don't know what else. Yeah. So let's write down this too. Journal and tenants, I guess. But also the stream schedule should serve the game. If I find that I need to spend an afternoon setting up Weblate, then yeah, take the time off. Although with Weblate specifically, note I should be able to host a new Weblate instance on stream just to learn how to set this stuff up for whatever they call it, like a mono language thing. Mono something. What is it? Monolingual get text. Yeah. What would be boring game dev work and not boring game dev work? I think so. Boring is in the eye of the beholder. For me, it's anything that goes on for too long. And to drill that down, anything has its own threshold. So for example, let's say I'm doing UI work. I think for like 2 days, it's totally fine. For 20 days, I would probably go nuts. If it's like game logic coding, I could probably do 20 days totally fine. 200 days, maybe too much. So I just need to bounce between these things. And toward the end of Skeleseller, the final 3 months were marketing, and even like 2 days of this is too much for me. And then polish, bug fixing. What else do we do? Play testing. All the other just like launch prep stuff. Playtesting wasn't bad, and bug fixing, none of this stuff is bad on its own. I don't think there's any task where 5 minutes is too much for me. Like that'd be really bad, because game dev is so many different areas. And yeah, I can do launch prep for a bit. I can do playtesting for a bit. If you had me playtest any game for 100 days, it'd probably be too much. I just can't see that being fun. So yeah, I hope that answers. Like the boring work is just work I've done too much of, and that's why one of the biggest lessons is just spread out that work. Then, like I shouldn't be doing all my polish toward the end. It's why I want to eventually settle into Thursdays being music day. So I'm composing music throughout the game and not just like 6 tracks all at once. Because I just lost so many hours to doing that in Skeleseller. So I released some other games. Yeah, I released Botland. That was the first game I worked on stream. This isn't available anymore. This game was nuts though. So you made scripts for bots, and then they would follow those scripts exactly in battle. And you could write them in JavaScript if you wanted to. And yeah, it was a multiplayer game that was online, had matchmaking and everything. That was crazy. And then the game I made after that was Skeleseller. I mean, there have been some games here and there that are like one-off stream games. Like I made a game called Animal Royale. That was actually pretty cool. There was a video here, right? Yeah. This was a Minecraft plugin where you connect to like my running instance through Twitch chat, and you spawn in as a sheep. And then you have to aim at the other sheep and you shoot TNT at each other. So we had a video of like hundreds of people playing this, which was total chaos. It's not supposed to have that many people. And then, yeah, they all start firing TNT at each other. They blow each other up. So there have been like little games like this I've made along the way, but I don't really count those. Hey, Kevin, how you doing? I hope last night went well. And I still have a task to myself to file some issues to give to you. So I will eventually do that. Younger Adam had better shirts than current Adam. Younger Adam wore t-shirts. Then, medium-aged Adam rebranded to only wearing shirts like this. With the one exception being putting on a Skeleseller hoodie every once in a while. Okay. So, yeah, I need to commit this. Cut out Fever Dream game. You now go from falling asleep in the farming game to waking up in the same game. This is after feedback from Ryan where he said it was confusing to go into the Fever Dream game. I agree, and I think it's important to test this out with upcoming playtesters. All right, commit and push. Take care, Disthrone. Thanks for coming in. Hope to see you again. Leek, we know you are medium aged. Yes. Current Adam probably still has those shirts. Current Adam does have those shirts. Although I feel like some of them somehow disappeared. I think I mostly wore hoodies on stream, right? VODs. Let's go find out. Because I have 5 years worth of VODs right here. Although, I mean, it wasn't always winter. I probably wasn't wearing hoodies in the summer. But if we go to like day 38, 10 years ago, what secrets do you have? Yeah, t-shirt. Yeah, it was probably mostly t-shirts. Is there a faster way to go through these? Let's go to 7 years ago. There. Oh, a Botland t-shirt. How on brand. Last I heard was you have a task for yourself. Me gonna close early today and enjoy the weekend. Oh, all I was saying is I will file a task for you at some point. And thank you for the conversation we had and hope last night went well. I think that's everything I said. Okay, what time is it? It's 2:51. All right, I gotta go. I have a play test at 3 p.m. and I need to upload the file and just make sure that I'm set up with my notes and everything. So in my mind, today was a very productive day. I already filled out the journal, right? Yeah, did game design all day. One of the coolest answers to hard questions. I came up with three sub games that I think would be fun. Yeah. Hey TMI. Usually not the case for me. Today I got a lot done. All right, well, cool. Enjoy the card show with your son tomorrow. Let me go find someone to raid. Pass on this love from Chris and from Two Nerdy Nerds. Or did I say Chris? Hang on. That was stupid of me. I meant Fritz. I pictured Fritz in my head and said the name of another streamer. Apologies. I am gonna raid L:Q. All right. Cheers, everybody. I will be back on Monday. It should be a full day of streaming, and I think it's going to be sort of boring work. So you've been warned. Thank you all for watching. Have a good weekend, and see you next time.